Clear thinking depends on a tough habit, being honest with yourself. This is one of the hardest parts of thinking clearly because it's easy to fool yourself without noticing. You can feel completely sure and still be wrong. That's why self-honesty isn't something you either have or don't have. It's a skill you build. It has steps. You notice what you believe. You ask why you believe it. You check whether your reasons match the facts. And then you accept what the facts show, even if that forces you to change. People can learn to observe their own thinking, spot weak reasons, and improve them. But it takes practice. If you want accuracy, you have to check yourself as carefully as you check anyone else. Self-honesty grows through deliberate effort. The mind naturally protects its own beliefs. Your attention isn't neutral. It selects, highlights, and filters. When you already believe something, you tend to notice facts that support it and overlook facts that challenge it. This happens quietly. It can feel like careful reasoning when it's really just gathering support for a decision you've already made. This pattern is known as confirmation bias. The brain prefers agreement because it reduces effort and doubt. Over time, that makes beliefs feel stronger, even when the evidence is weak. Thinking becomes clearer when you expect this bias in yourself. You don't assume you're fully fair. You build checks. You look for disconfirming facts. You ask what will change your mind, and you treat that question as part of honesty. The mind defends its own beliefs automatically. Feelings can feel like proof, but they are not proof. A strong feeling can create a strong belief. If a claim feels right, you might stop checking. If it feels wrong, you might reject it too early. This is emotional reasoning. Feelings can tell you what matters to you, and they can guide your attention, but they cannot prove what's true in the world. Discomfort can show up for many reasons. It can appear because an idea is new, because it challenges a habit, or because part of you doesn't want to change. Clear thinking grows when you separate "I feel sure" from "I have support." You slow down, state the claim in plain words, list your reasons, and ask which reasons are facts and which are reactions. Emotional certainty doesn't guarantee correctness. Honesty often begins with a simple phrase, "I don't know." This is hard because people want to look competent and feel in control, so they pretend to know. They speak with confidence even when their foundation is weak, and that blocks learning. Admitting ignorance creates a clean starting point. If you don't know, you can learn. If you pretend you know, you can't. Pretending closes the door, and admitting opens it. People who can name their limits tend to learn faster. They ask better questions. They check sources and update when new evidence appears. You can practice this by making your ignorance specific. You don't say you know nothing. You say you don't know this part. Then you list what you would need to know next. This turns ignorance into a plan. Recognizing ignorance is how learning begins. Clear thinking also needs clear definitions. Vague language gives you hiding places. You can use words like success, better, or effective and never define them. Then you can claim progress without proof. That's a quiet form of self-deception. Important words need clear meaning. You should be able to explain what a word refers to and how you would recognize it in reality. When your terms are clear, you can test your claims. When they're vague, you can move the goal without noticing. You strengthen honesty by defining key terms in plain language and giving one example and one non-example. That shows what the term includes and excludes, and it removes escape routes. Clear definitions support honest thinking. Self-honesty also requires testing your own ideas. It's easy to criticize other people. It's harder to test yourself. The mind protects its own beliefs, so you have to work against that tendency. Treat your belief as a claim, not as truth. Ask what it predicts. Then check whether the prediction holds. This is the scientific method applied inward. You form a simple hypothesis about how something works, figure out what should follow, and then compare it with real outcomes from life or from research. If the match is weak, you adjust the hypothesis. Testing doesn't have to be a big experiment. It can be tracking results, comparing two approaches, or checking whether your reasons still hold when you look at the full set of facts. Self-testing keeps your thinking aligned with reality. Ego is often the main barrier to self-honesty. Ego isn't only pride. It's the need to protect an image of yourself, to feel right, and to win. When ego is strong, evidence becomes personal, and correction feels like an attack. That blocks learning. If you can't accept being wrong, you'll keep mistakes alive. You'll protect weak ideas because they're attached to your identity. People often interpret evidence in ways that protect their status and self-image. They accept good news quickly and explain away bad news quickly. You weaken ego's grip by changing your goal. Your goal isn't to be right. Your goal is to be accurate. Your goal isn't to protect the story. Your goal is to match reality. When you do that, correction becomes useful. It becomes part of progress instead of a personal loss. Ego defense prevents honest self-assessment. Mistakes are data, not personal. Failures. In science, wrong predictions show gaps and failed tests reveal limits. Those signals are what push ideas forward. When a result doesn't match what you expected, you don't hide it or blame the world. You ask what was wrong in the idea or the method, and then you fix it. Error correction is central to progress because reality gives feedback. A mistake shows where your model fails. If you face that, you can improve. If you avoid it, you stay stuck. You can practice this in everyday life by recording errors without drama. State what you expected, state what happened, name the assumption that turned out to be wrong, and then adjust your next attempt. Over time, error becomes part of learning instead of something you fear. Mistakes help refine understanding. Honesty also requires consistency between your words and the evidence you accept. A common problem is saying you value evidence, but ignoring it when it clashes with your view. Or saying you want truth, but avoiding facts that demand change. That creates inconsistency. If you say one thing and the evidence shows another, you have to resolve the conflict. You can't keep both. Consistency doesn't mean being rigid. It means you don't hold two opposing claims at the same time without a clear reason. If you believe one thing causes another, but the results don't match, the claim needs revision. You build honesty by checking your statements against your actions and your data. You ask what you actually accept as true when you make decisions, and then you bring your words into line with that evidence or change your decisions. Claims have to align with observable facts. Self-honesty isn't a one-time event. It requires ongoing attention. Bias doesn't disappear after a single insight. The mind keeps filtering. Ego keeps defending, and habit keeps pulling you back. That's why honesty has to be maintained. You keep checking your assumptions, rechecking your methods, and staying alert for self-deception. Over time, repetition matters. A single act doesn't build a habit, but repeated practice does. Honest checking becomes more automatic when you do it regularly. You can maintain it with simple routines. Review one belief each week. Ask what evidence supports it and what evidence challenges it. Update your confidence level and avoid forcing certainty when the evidence is mixed. Honest thinking has to be maintained over time. Doubt can help keep you honest. Certainty feels clean and final, but it can be wrong. Doubt creates space for checking. It slows down quick conclusions and keeps you open to correction. Leaving room for error isn't a weakness. It supports accuracy. If you assume you might be wrong, you keep testing. If you assume you're right, you stop. Practical doubt pushes you to look for what would disprove your claim. It pushes you to seek strong opposing evidence and test your favorite idea the hardest. You don't have to doubt everything. You doubt your certainty level. You ask whether your support is strong or weak, and you adjust your confidence to match the data. Careful doubt protects you from self-deception. Self-honesty improves your map of reality over time. The mind protects beliefs. Feelings can masquerade as proof. Ego resists correction, and vague language can hide weak ideas. Without checks, self-deception grows. A better path is to admit what you don't know. Define terms clearly. Test your own ideas. Treat mistakes as data. Align your words with evidence. Practice honesty daily, and keep a useful level of doubt. This is how progress works in science, and it's how personal thinking improves too. You don't need perfection. You need discipline. You return to evidence and correction again and again, and that's how honesty becomes strong. Self-honesty strengthens understanding over time.